Hey y'all, welcome to Shade in the City. It's your girl Trees here, and I am here to do what? Give you guys the recap for Beyond the Gates, season 1, episode 167. So, anyway, y'all, if you haven't already, all of my Shade Squad and my new viewers, please go ahead and do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you're a new viewer and you have not already, please go ahead and join the fam and subscribe, all right? Because you like the vibe, all right? But y'all, let's go ahead and get into this episode. Cause it's a lot to get into, and we ain't even got to Fridays yet. Cause I gotta compose myself, cause I know I'm gonna have a lot more to say once we get there. But let's get into it, and let's get shady.
Last drip on the skyline pen. Shade in the city, true hit like a banger. I said it, I meant it, no need for disclaimers. Haters right away, but they just false claimers. Concrete beats are heavy like cinder. Looking for one, but the streets feel winter. No filters, no edits, I'm raw with my splinter. My life a movie, they watching the trailers. I'm not gonna hold you. Shade in the city, the life and the mold. You like and subscribe if you feeling the vibe. This is my word, I just let you inside. Shade in the city, I'm not gonna hold you. Shade in the city, my words gon' console you. Like and subscribe if you feeling the vibe.
So we start off episode 167. This would have been Thursday's episode, okay? So Isaiah goes by to see Joey, and we quickly learn that him and Joey know each other, right? So not even know each other, they know each other well. So Joey is like, "Oh, so you here to just, dip in to see your family before you get the dipping again?" And so Isaiah was like, "Nah, I'm back for real this time." And so Joey was like, "Oh, what brings you back? You in some trouble? You need some money? What's up?" Isaiah was like, "Nah, I ain't running from nothing." And so Joey lets him know, "Well, you know I'm here if you need anything." And so Isaiah says, "This time, fortunately, I don't need rescuing, but I do appreciate you being willing to help me." And tells Joey, "You've always been a real one." So then that's why I said we quickly realized, oh, these know each other well. They ain't just meet yesterday. Okay. So we jump over to Danny's house where, she's anxious to call Pamela and tell her that Andre has agreed to do this Forrester shoot. And so Andre was like, "Well, can you wait till the morning? Can we celebrate that I signed on first?" And so, he starts undressing, which entices Danny to say, "This phone call, okay?" And go tend to her husband. Now, after the rendezvous, Andre tells Danny that something has changed between them. And Danny basically says, "Don't question it. Just let it happen." And I said, "Don't talk. Just listen." Okay. I ain't even gonna bust out to the south for you, but you already knew where I was going. But anyway, so then we move over to Jacob, who meets Naomi down at Uptown. And apparently she's had a good day in court. So as he's ordering drinks and planning, the after party, I'm saying, he spots Derek on his own once again. And I said, "Well, baby," he see Derek over there looking pained. And so Naomi was like, "Well, I wonder where the hell Ashley is." So they go over to join him and they're like, "Is everything okay?" And Naomi was like, "You know what? My bad, Derek, for going off on you the other day." And so Naomi's confused and Derek is like, "Yeah, I do have feeling in my legs." So Naomi was like, "Well, this is great news. It should be a celebration. I don't understand what's going on." And so he said, "Ashley feels like it's a betrayal." So Naomi was like, "Well, were you hiding it from her?" And then Derek looks over at Jacob and basically what I call wet snitch, because it wasn't a dry snitch, it was a straight snitch, and snitches him out about, "Oh, damn, Jacob, I should have took your advice when you told me to come clean." Now, this is why you can't have friends like Derek, because I remember clearly Jacob was like, "Yo, you only got a little bit, but I don't like not sharing with my wife what's going on." And then here you are getting me in trouble trying to keep your bullshit secret. Derek was wrong as hell for that. I don't care what nobody said. Now Naomi is pissed when learning that Jacob knew about this, and Jacob tries to save himself and said, "Look, I knew he had feeling in his legs. I ain't even know he could stand on his feet, okay?" And he tries to lighten things up, but still, it's a miracle. It's so good. And we know we love things that are good, Naomi. What are the do goods? Okay. And so Naomi snaps and said, "Yeah, it would have been good. And we could have celebrated together if you hadn't kept it a secret. Why would you hide this?" I said, "For once, Naomi, if you're going to go in on somebody and be in somebody's business because he involved you, this was the one. This was you. I wasn't even mad at you for this. Okay. I I was sitting back like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, girl. Anyway. So then Derek tells his bright idea, or I didn't really say dumb idea about surprising Ashley at the altar. Okay. And so Jacob tries to keep Naomi up out his, all right. And Derek tells him, look, well, it don't matter because Ashley gave me my ring back. So Naomi was like, well, what did you expect? After what was she supposed to do after finding out she'd been living a lie? She reminds Derek she rearranged her whole life and you watched her struggle knowing you were getting better. You selfish son of a. Derek admits to Naomi that, look, Jacob has been on me for weeks about telling Ashley. And Jacob was like, yeah, it wasn't my story to tell. Naomi said, He said, she was like, what is this, some type of bro code? So men get to make decisions and they don't have to consult with the women in the situation. I was like, I'm with her on that. And so Naomi said, you know what? I'm going to go check on Ashley. And she tells Jacob, and you better make sure Derek has a place to stay. And it won't be under our roof. And I said, well, that's right. Go ahead, Naomi. For once, like I said, we see each other. So I'm going to try to make this quick because I know y'all don't care, but this is we got to do what we got to do, okay? So, meanwhile, Ashley is at her house filling Jan in on Derek's scheme and how he planned to surprise her at the wedding. She knows that everyone would have saw it as a sweet moment, but says that she feels like the marriage would have been based on deception and lies. And so Jan goes to console her, and she's over here trying to plead Derek's case. And so Ashley was like, "No, this tried to weaponize my sympathy." So Jan was like, "Is there something that you feel guilty about?" And she's like, I just don't understand why it's over now that he's walking again. Now, I will say this, was Jan right? And did Ashley have really not want that man like we talked about? Yeah, she didn't really want that man. But again, I still stand in where I stand that I am not here for her mother trying to push her into a relationship because that's what she wants for her. And that's not necessarily what Ashley wants. Like I said, I don't know if I know Elaine was there, but I did hop on Really B's live with her and JB this weekend for their Beyond the Gates recap. And yeah, I think Ashley needs to go somewhere and she needs to find herself. Um, Real talk. She needs to find out who she is and what she wants. Because being honest, I don't think she really wants Andre nor Derek. But y'all drop in the comments, let me know what you think. And if you get a chance to cruise over to Really B's channel and check that out, go ahead and support. You know, it's all love around here. That's our boo. Ashley feels like this is Derek's MO to pressure her into things and brings up how, he thought it was going to be cute to wait till we got into a room full of people to surprise me. And I would have just had to sit there and grin and bear it. And so Jan was like, well, where do you think the insecurity is coming from? And Ashley tells her that basically Derek is still worried about Andre. And so Jan is like, I don't even understand why that's a factor because Andre's married. And I thought that chapter was closed. So then she looks at Ashley for confirmation. And Ashley says, well, I just don't really know where Andre's head is nowadays. And I was like, Jesus. She shares that Andre told her that his marriage ain't what it looked like. And so Jan was like, oh, and you believe that? So she was like, does Derek know about this conversation? And Ashley thinks, and Ashley thinks that he doesn't, of course. And she said, I didn't tell him because, I didn't want to worry him. And so Jan says, or you didn't want to confirm what he suspected because, deep down, Derek wasn't entirely wrong. And tells her clearly Derek wasn't the only one keeping secrets. So, Ashley feels like Jan is saying she deserved this. And Jan said, no, no, no. I'm not saying you deserve to be lied to, but I do want to understand because the Derek that you told me you love so much, this doesn't seem like the guy that I grew fond of. So Ashley said, I'm just as surprised. I was around here washing his big grown ass. So Jan tries to use the accident as an excuse. And, Ashley said, that doesn't explain lying to me for months. So then she tries to use, fear and shame as her next explanation for Derek's behavior. And my notes say, I was over it. Ashley said, I know Derek lied to me to keep me because he didn't believe I would stay if I had the choice. And so Jan was like, well, I want you to think long and hard about this and ask yourself if Derek was honest with you and said that he thinks that you're in love with Andre and that you regretted your decision to come back to him. And Ashley was like, that's not true. I didn't let myself go there. And so Jan said, well, girl, I think the bigger issue is you still lying to yourself. And I said, she is Jan, but I still think you need to back up off her and tell her to find herself, okay? Instead of being up under that man that she don't like. Because that ain't cute either. So Vanessa rolls up on Diego down at the country club and asks, what your evening look like? What's on your schedule? So Diego was thinking she's asking for herself. And he was like, I always got time for you. And she lets him know, oh, it's not for me, sweetheart. She said, I'm actually sending you on a date with someone else. So Diego was confused and was like, are you into menages now? And she said, no, baby. I'm not into menages. I'm into management. Okay. And she reveals that, I'm running Joey's escort service now. And, I'm aware that this job at the country club is just a cover. And so Diego was like, please don't tell Joey about us. And Vanessa said, it's a little too late for that. And she said, and Joey was not thrilled about taking a hit. But what I did do is assure him that we would recover all the losses with interest. And so Diego was like, I just want you to know it was never business with you. And Vanessa was like, okay, that's all good. And she said, but you know what? I don't give a damn what it used to be. Now I'm your boss. I sign the checks. There will be no more free samples. So Diego is trying to talk his way back into Vanessa's JJ. And Vanessa says, look, I don't do that no more. I just manage the inventory. Okay. And so Diego was like, oh, so you don't feel no way about me going on a date with nobody else? And Vanessa was like, I'll find a way to console myself. Diego was like, but one man has never been enough for you. And Vanessa says, although I love passion, save that for the clients. I said, yes, Vanessa. Okay. It's giving real businesswoman. It's giving, let's get to the money. I hope it stays that way because we know you have a weakness, sis. So back over at the casino, Joey's asking Isaiah, so why did you leave? And so Isaiah explains that I did need a change, but he does admit that there was a woman involved and he burnt that bridge. So he mentions that he heard that Joey got divorced. And Joey said, yeah, but that's water under the bridge. Don't worry about that. So he asked, well, are you looking for work? And Isaiah was like, actually, I got this opportunity as academic advisor for Vanderbilt University. And this is what caught Joey was smiling like a proud papa. Okay. And he brings up how, Isaiah went from boosting cars and hustling dime bags. And he's like, yeah, now I'm trying to help kids decide their future and not fall through the cracks like I almost did. So he said, it's not the best paying position. And Joey said, you know what? I'm just happy to hear you went from running the streets to building futures, and said, that's the best come up I've ever heard. I said, oh, but I said, what is going on here? All right. So Isaiah thanks him for not treating him, like another statistic and, believing in him. And he said, and this is my way of, paying it forward. And so Joey said, I always thought better of you than Elon gave you credit for. And, your daddy had a limited view of success and wanted you to toe the line. And Isaiah was like, yeah, and I was never going to be a cop. He admits I did, I did do a lot of dumb shit. And it was you that pulled me off the ledge. And I might not be standing here or anywhere if it wasn't for you. And I said, oh, we giving Joey a lot. Okay. And Joey assures him, nah, man, you was always going to land on your feet. So that's when Vanessa comes in and interrupts. And Joey was like, all right, it's time to go. Let's wrap things up. So, keep in touch. And so Vanessa was like, who is that? He looked a little familiar. And so Joey was like, oh, he from out of town. And you probably don't know him. Vanessa was like, no, I know him. I saw him at Naomi's wedding. Him and Elon had got into it. And yeah, it was a scene. It was a thing. They was talking about it at the country club for about a week. So basically, Joey tells Vanessa to look, okay, yeah, I know the little boy, but please keep that between us. We don't need Elon finding out that I know him. So Vanessa asks, well, does Isaiah work for you? And Joey responds, he hasn't in years, but he did at one time. So Joey gives her the backstory on how Isaiah was a troubled kid and he rebelled against what Elon wanted for him. And he admits that at first thought, he was bringing him on so he could use him to his advantage, having the chief's son in his orbit. And so he gave him some jobs and he worked his way up. And Joey said, I realized he was too smart for this life. And so I did what Elon couldn't do and I let him go. And I encouraged Isaiah to get a degree somewhere away from his father so he can become his own man. And, he said, and now he's an academic. And he's like, and now he's an academic advisor. Vanessa's like, oh, Joey, I didn't even know you had a paternal side. Let me find out. Okay. So Naomi goes by to check on Ashley, and Ashley admits that she feels like an idiot as a nurse, that she didn't realize the signs of progression that Derek was getting better. So she was asked Naomi, did you know? And Naomi was like, girl, I didn't. but Jacob did. And she said, but we gonna have a come to Jesus moment later. Okay. So she tells Ashley that Jacob had been trying to get Derek to tell her the truth, and he just didn't want to betray his trust. And Ashley was like, girl, that's not Jacob's job and that's not his fault. Derek was playing in my face. So she tells Naomi about the conversation she had with her mother and how basically her mama suggested that she stay with Derek out of sympathy. And Naomi was like, well, I had asked you that already. She was like, well, I was just so certain that Derek was it. And so she does admit that, she might have been lying to herself about what she really wanted. And of course, Naomi knows that she's talking about Andre, right? So Ashley is a little reluctant about opening up to Naomi because Andre is now her stepfather. And Naomi says, look, I already talked to Andre about you. He said he wanted whatever made you happy and you chose Derek. So he respected that. And Ashley was like, well, did you talk to him about his marriage to your mama? And Naomi said, and I did. And I didn't like what he said because, he basically sounded like it was situational and it would last as long as it lasted. So Ashley was like, yeah, he told me the same thing. And Naomi said, but no matter how it started, they found something and it's working for them. And so Naomi makes it clear to Ashley that whatever happens next, this cannot be a repeat of Haley. Ashley, oh my God, Naomi, I would never do that. I would never do that to you. And so Naomi reminds her of everything her mother went through and said, look, if you want to be with Andre and y'all decide y'all want to be together, all I ask is that you're honest. No secrets. Don't be hiding that shit from my mama. Don't be doing that shit behind my back. Don't be doing no Haley shit because my mom can't take another one of my friends stealing her man, her husband. Okay. Then Naomi gets a text from Danny. And so Ashley's like, please don't say anything to your mom. And of course, Naomi's like, cool. And I literally, my notes say Naomi is the ops. Back over at Danny's house, after they finished their rendezvous and they decided they're going to get rings made in LA instead of these cigar bands. She tells Andre that she got a message from Pamela and they need to head out to LA the very next day for this Forester trip. So she lets him know Naomi is on her way over. And so I need to get dressed because, it looked like we just got up this bed. So Andre then gets a text from Ashley asking if they can talk. And I said, good, dirty. Vanessa and Joey go down to Uptown and Joey notices that Vanessa is watching Diego with his date and calls her out. And so Vanessa claims, I'm just watching the inventory. And she mentions how she set Diego up with the chair of the Cherry Blossom Festival. I think her name was Lolly or something like that. And she thinks, the connection could open doors for us that money can't. And so Joey was like, so what is Diego doing with her? And so Vanessa basically reveals that she set them up. And so Joey was like, oh, so that's why you suggested Uptown so you could sit here and keep an eye on Diego? And Vanessa said, you're damn right. It's pertinent that this goes well because Lolly knows everyone. And I'm hoping she's going to boost, our clientele. So Joey reminds her again, you better not be fraternizing with the help. And Vanessa was like, do you feel threatened or something? Because you don't need to feel jealous. Unlike Doug, I'm getting everything that I need from you. And I said, okay, but for how long? We move over to Jacob and Isaiah, who have met up at Offrey Jeans after Jacob has dropped Derek off at a hotel. So Isaiah goes down memory lane with Jacob, how the family used to have, dinner there once a week, fried chicken night specifically, right? So Jacob says, his parents don't do that much anymore. And Isaiah was like, oh, it's because, dad's working himself so hard. He's probably going to give himself a heart attack. And Jacob's like, yeah, that's not really funny because he actually did have a heart attack a few years back. And Isaiah was like, so why didn't nobody tell me? I wouldn't have made the joke. Okay. So Jacob was like, do you remember? Y'all want to speak in terms. And Isaiah was like, okay. And I don't give a damn. Like I think most of us would have felt, give me the chance and opportunity to decide if I want to say my dad. You know what I'm saying? So Jacob admits, you know what, my bad. I should have said something and, given you the opportunity to be there. And Isaiah was like, and why didn't you? And Jacob was like, you know what? Daddy didn't want anybody outside the house knowing because he didn't want city council to find out and they forced him into an early retirement. So Isaiah was like, see, that's him. Badge first, family second, even if the man is dying. I said, Jesus. So Jacob said, okay, first of all, he wasn't dying. They caught it, put a stent in it. And Jacob tells him that Elon's proud of his life's work. And okay, and Jacob tells him, and Dad's proud of his life's work, and you can't expect that to change. So Isaiah said, and so Isaiah said, I don't expect anything from my father because he's made it clear how much of a disappointment I am to him. Jacob was like, you're making this real one-sided, and you forget that you've always been the one to shit about dad, the badge, and everything he dedicated his life to. And so Jacob basically pleads with him, stop whatever this feud is that you got going with dad, because right now it's breaking mom's heart, and y'all need to find some peace. Of course, do good is going to do what he does. Do good, right? And then he said, and you need to start giving dad some credit. And he's like, he's aware that plenty of careers can contribute to society in the same way. And Isaiah said, yeah, and I have one of those careers and I'm proud of it. And I want to help show kids the way like someone did for me, i.e. Joey. Right. Now, we jump back over to Danny's house where she's packing for her trip. Danny tells her that, surprise, surprise, surprise. She's back into the modeling world and has, a deal with Forrester Creations. So she tells her about Ridge, seeing the wedding photo and how now he wants her and Andre to do this couple shoot. And Naomi is a little shocked when Danny says that, they plan to go to LA and make that their honeymoon. And Naomi was like, oh, so things are going real well. And her mother was like, yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy. Do you not? So Danny is all excited and she notices that something's wrong with Naomi. And Naomi tells her, I just want you to be careful. So Danny sits her down and said, look, Andre is a good man, Naomi. She explains how he's been patient with me, with your father, getting over your father and trying to, waiting for me to see what's in front of my face. And she's like, please just be happy for me. And so, of course, Naomi don't say nothing to Danny. And I was like, what are you good for? You butt into people's business when it's not necessary. And then when you need to actually say something, that's when you got a closed mouth. It's weird. Anyway, we jump back to Ashley's house. She's sitting on the couch having, in my words, dumbass flashbacks when Andre arrives. Ashley tells him she thinks that she made a huge mistake. Ashley said, she thinks she made a huge mistake. And she thought about what he said and how marrying Derek was because that was her comfort zone. And Andre was like, yeah, I shouldn't have said that, my bad. And Ashley was like, no, but it was true. And so she tells him, I made a mistake about not being honest with you or myself. And is it too late for us? And Andre looking at her like, yeah. Andre said, baby, I'm on the way to LA with my wife. And Ashley was like, oh, Derek betrayed me. And I just think it's best because now I realize what I want, Andre, and that's you. And do you still want it? And Andre said, baby, let me tell you this very slowly. Okay? I know you're hurting right now. And, this is common for you to, want someone to lean on, But don't call me Ashley when you need a hand. Find someone else to lean on. I know you got problems, and I just don't care to understand. Find someone else to lean on. He didn't say that. I did. But anyway, he said, look, I feel for you, but I can't be there for you in that way. And he said, I've actually fallen in love with my wife. So then, of course, Ashley starts bawling. And Andre said, well, good luck with that. And leaves. And then, Ashley's on the couch breaking down. And I said, well, if this was the best scene. This was the best scene of the episode. Was Ashley sitting on that couch crying. I don't know why I got so much enjoyment out of it. Maybe I'm a really evil person. I don't know. I don't think I'm that bad of a person, but I really enjoyed that scene. Shout out to Andre. But yeah, y'all. So that was episode 167. If you guys haven't already, please do me a favor and go ahead and hit that like button. And comment. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you hit the notification bell. Make sure you're following us on all the platforms. That's the TikTok, the Twitter, the Facebook, the IG, and the Blue Sky, y'all. Love y'all. Have a great week. Bye-bye.